From The Reporter, the paper of record for Delaware County's towns and villages, this is Delaware County Off the Record, a quick look at the latest county news. I'm Andrew Kantor, and this week we've got high electricity prices, parking drama in Andes, animals invading a Sidney restaurant, and more. So let's get to it. We'll start with people in Sidney. They've asked the town council members why their electric bills are so high. Something those council members also noticed about the town's bill for East Sidney Lake's electricity. So the council, they brought in an energy consultant to explain what was going on. His answer? Those electric bills are higher because the cost of electricity went up. The more you know. It is a mess in Andes over parking and the lack thereof. And here's the latest twist. Well, the short version. The town council voted to purchase an empty house at 42 Main Street for about $160,000, and that's a reasonable price at going rate. The plan was to spend another $50,000 to demolish the house and then turn it into parking space. And that did not sit well with everyone. One resident was upset that, quote, the board can just make decisions and now the taxpayers have to pay for it, unquote. He clearly does not understand how governments work. To be fair, he also brought up the fact that the planning and zoning board weren't consulted, and there could be environmental hazards, like asbestos, in the house. Another resident simply didn't feel it was his responsibility to pay for a municipal parking lot, although he wasn't clear what government services he felt he should pay for. And the same resident who didn't like how government works, he also complained that large events in the town only benefited the businesses, and those businesses should be the ones paying to create more parking. Anyway, the council decided to go ahead with the house purchase as long as there are no environmental concerns and the cost of demolition isn't too high. The Bavaria restaurant in Sidney is dealing with a plague of animals. Actually, were animals one of the plagues? Just frogs, right? Anyway, plague of animals from its next-door neighbor. Chickens, cats, and even bunnies are coming over or through the fence between the properties and, let's say, leaving their marks on the restaurant's patio. Animal control got involved. Code enforcement got involved. The neighbor's landlord got involved. And the result? The chickens are gone, at least for now, but the cats and bunnies are apparently still a problem. It's reached the point where it's become a civil matter, meaning the Bavaria's owners and the zookeepers next door are going to have to work it out themselves or in court. There are emergency services for physical injuries, and now Delaware County is working to create one for mental health emergencies. It's in the early stages of forming a disaster mental health response team, and it's following guidance from the State Office of Mental Health. Basically, the team would consist of like 20 to 25 trained volunteers, and it wouldn't be limited to mental health professionals. The goal is for them to provide support during disasters that can supplement the traditional emergency services. The teams would offer psychological first aid, something that's easy to forget about during a disaster. Survivors, after all, they need to deal with a crazy amount of stress, and they might even need long-term support. That's the kind of team that worked really well during Hurricane Katrina, for example. In Delaware County, the team is going to start training this fall. Speaking of mental health, Delaware County Behavioral Health has fully transitioned to an integrated clinic model. What that means is that it treats mental illness and substance abuse together rather than separately. And that's important because until recently, patients had to bounce between different offices for different issues. Now, one provider can handle both, and that simplifies their care and helps make sure they come back. The clinic is also offering basic medical services, including physical exams, in-house blood draws, that kind of stuff for clients who don't have access to primary care because this is America and not everyone can afford a doctor. The new model should reflect a more realistic, honestly, a more compassionate way of providing behavioral health services to the people who need it. So, what happens if you ignore all sorts of environmental and health and land use violations in your business and then ignore the people telling you to comply? Nothing. At least if you're a racetrack in Harpersfield, New York Safety Track, and yes, that is an ironic name, as you'll see. It's under fire for years of violations, and it's pretty much ignored all the efforts to stop it from operating or expanding. Couple of examples. Despite being denied a special use permit, the track's owners built a new 3/4-mile mini-track. Oh, and they had approval for 25 motorcycles on site, but they've been hosting much bigger events and even overnight campers, which they're not supposed to do. The long arm of the law, it's tried to do something. The DEC cited the track for continuing construction without a valid stormwater permit. It even ordered work to stop, but the track's owners just kept on building. They've gotten 2 violation notices since then, and that hasn't made a difference. The Department of Health, it got involved too. It flagged a bunch of serious problems on the site, including issuing a do not drink notice for the water there. Result? Nada. What happens next? Who knows? Maybe the DEC will do something. Maybe the Department of Health will. Maybe local officials will, because it's not entirely clear why they haven't yet. Meanwhile, at least for New York Safety Track, it seems to be business as usual. Did you know that as of May 7th, you need a real ID to board even a domestic flight? Yes, your papers, please. If you're one of the folks that still has a regular driver's license, brace yourself before heading to the DMV, because Delaware County's DMV has been swamped. In April alone, they handled more than 8,500 walk-in transactions. That's like 400 something a day. And a quarter of them were for people who want real IDs and enhanced licenses. The problem is they don't have the staffing. Only a few employees are trained to process federal IDs because that requires fingerprinting and hours of training. To add to the problem, DMV Supervisor Carol Pickett just announced her retirement after 30 years. The county clerk, that's Haley Gransbury, says she's scrambling to keep the office running. The staff is skipping breaks. They're coming to work early just to meet these state deadlines. So if you go to DMV and the person behind the counter looks like she's having a bad day, she probably is. Well, that's it for this week's Off the Record. But there's plenty more in the Reporter in print and online at the-reporter.net. Like a pitch for a marijuana dispensary in Roxbury, or Delaware County Business Alliance's new branding, Girl Scouts and Scout volunteers winning awards, and plenty more. Until next week, I am Andrew Kantor. Thanks for listening.